Most people believe you have to wait until you have money before you can think like a millionaire. They assume wealth is the cause of a wealthy mindset, when in truth, it's the effect. Every fortune, every thriving enterprise, every remarkable achievement you've ever admired began not with a bank account, but with a pattern of thought. Millionaires do not simply stumble into their wealth. They grow into it. They construct it in the invisible architecture of their minds long before it appears in their lives. And the greatest misconception holding people back is believing that circumstances must improve before thinking can improve. The reality is exactly the opposite. Your circumstances will rise or fall to match the way you think. If you're broke today, that is not a verdict. It's a starting point. And the fastest way to leave it behind is to think, act, and live as if the wealth you desire is already part of your identity. The first thing you must understand is that thinking like a millionaire is not about pretending you have money you don't. It's about adopting the same mental disciplines and frameworks that those who've built wealth live by every day. These habits of thought cost nothing to acquire, but they are priceless in their return. Millionaires think in terms of cause and effect. They understand that results are not accidents, they are consequences. They see every dollar, every relationship, every opportunity as something they either attract or repel through their own choices and mindset. This perspective is available to you right now, no matter your financial condition. The moment you start seeing yourself as the cause, not the victim of your situation, you unlock the same lever of control that the wealthy have been using for generations. This is where transformation begins, when you shift from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What can I do to create a different outcome?" One of the key mental patterns of a millionaire is clarity of purpose. Wealth builders do not drift through life hoping something will happen. They have a vision, clear, measurable, and detailed, and they organize their daily actions to bring that vision into being. You may think clarity is a luxury for those who already have resources, but it is the foundation for those who create them. Without it, your energy scatters into 100 directions, producing motion but no progress. To think like a millionaire, you must decide precisely what you want. Not vaguely, not more money, but a specific financial target, a defined lifestyle, a concrete measure of success. And then you must begin to think, plan, and act as if that goal is non-negotiable. This mental commitment has a way of reorganizing your priorities, filtering your decisions, and drawing your attention toward opportunities you would have otherwise overlooked. Another fundamental element is the way millionaires think about problems. Most people see problems as obstacles to avoid. Millionaires see them as opportunities to solve. And the bigger the problem they solve, the greater the reward they earn. This is why the wealthy are often found where complexity, challenge, and uncertainty exist. They know that these conditions are the breeding ground for value creation. You can adopt this mindset right now by shifting your focus from the inconvenience of a problem to the potential within it. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this problem?" ask, "How can solving this problem create value for me and for others?" The world pays generously for solutions, and the habit of seeking them rather than shrinking from them is one of the fastest mental shifts you can make toward wealth. The millionaire mind also operates with a long-term perspective. They are willing to sacrifice short-term gratification for long-term gain. They measure decisions not by how comfortable they are in the moment, but by how much they align with their larger vision. This is why they invest when others spend, why they learn when others are entertained, why they delay indulgence in order to expand capacity. You do not need a fortune to start thinking this way. You need only the willingness to trade right now pleasure for worth-it results. Every time you choose to plant instead of consume, you are thinking like a millionaire, and every small decision compounds over time, creating the momentum that eventually becomes visible wealth. Let's also talk about responsibility. Millionaires do not wait for rescue. They do not rely on luck. They operate with the unwavering belief that they are in control of their outcomes. This doesn't mean they control every event, but it does mean they control their response to every event. They own their mistakes. They adapt to setbacks. They keep moving when others stop to complain, and in doing so, they cultivate resilience, the most valuable currency of all. You can adopt this immediately by removing blame from your vocabulary. Stop blaming the economy, the boss, the competition, your upbringing, or the market. Begin with the assumption that your current situation is entirely yours to change, and act accordingly. Responsibility is the doorway to power, and you cannot enter it while carrying the excuses of the masses. Another defining trait of a millionaire mind is the ability to think in terms of value, not just cost. The average person asks, "How much does it cost?" The millionaire asks, "What is the return?" This is why they see investments where others see expenses. They will spend money, time, or energy freely when the return exceeds the cost, and they avoid wasting resources on things that do not multiply. You can start applying this right now by analyzing every purchase, every activity, every commitment through the lens of return. Does this give me more than it takes from me? If not, why am I doing it? Thinking this way doesn't require money, it requires discernment. And over time, it trains you to allocate your resources like an investor rather than a consumer. Finally, understand that thinking like a millionaire while you're broke is not an act of delusion, it's the beginning of transformation. You are not pretending to be something you're not. You are aligning your thoughts and actions with the identity you intend to build, and the identity always comes before the reality. The wealth you want will follow the person you become. So if you want to know where to start, start with your mind. Start with your habits. Start with your standards. Carry yourself with the same clarity, discipline, and responsibility you would if you already had everything you're working toward. In time, the outer world will catch up to the inner one, and when it does, it won't be an accident. It will be the inevitable result of the way you chose to think long before anyone else could see it. If you want to think like a millionaire when you're broke, you must first understand that wealth is not built from a place of lack, it's built from a place of vision. Most people, when faced with empty pockets or an empty bank account, allow their circumstances to dictate their thoughts. They think in terms of scarcity because they see scarcity. But the millionaire mind flips this entirely. It begins with the end in mind and works backward. It sees the destination so clearly that the current state becomes irrelevant. You cannot expect to grow wealth from a mind trained to see only what's missing. The mind that builds wealth sees opportunity where others see nothing, and it rehearses that opportunity until it becomes the only reality worth pursuing. This is why so many remain trapped. They are living according to the evidence of today rather than the vision of tomorrow. The next truth you must embrace is that a millionaire's thinking is rooted in ownership, not just of assets, but of results. A millionaire doesn't say, "I can't because the system is unfair," or "I can't because I wasn't given the same start as others." They take complete responsibility for their trajectory. They understand that blaming, excusing, or waiting are luxuries they cannot afford. This level of ownership transforms even the smallest opportunities into stepping stones. It changes how you approach your work, your relationships, and your learning. When you own your outcomes fully, you stop waiting for the right conditions and begin creating them. You stop looking for someone to open the door and start building your own. Another defining trait of millionaire thinking is resourcefulness. When you have money, it's easy to solve problems by spending. When you don't, you are forced to solve them by thinking, and this is where most people quit. They see the lack of money as the end of the road, but the millionaire mind sees it as a challenge to innovate. It asks, what can I use? Who can I ask? How else can this be done? Resourcefulness is a habit, and it can be built long before you ever have wealth. In fact, the most self-made millionaires will tell you that their fortune didn't make them resourceful. It was their resourcefulness that made the fortune. And the time to cultivate it is when your back is against the wall, when you have no choice but to think creatively. You must also learn to think in terms of value, not wages. The average mind thinks, what can I be paid for my time? The millionaire mind thinks, what value can I create that others will gladly pay for? This is a radical shift because it removes the ceiling on your earning potential. Time is limited, value is limitless. If you focus on trading hours, you will always be capped. If you focus on solving valuable problems, you can multiply your returns without multiplying your hours. Even if you're broke today, you can begin asking this question daily. How can I create something that makes someone's life easier, faster, better, or more enjoyable? That question has built more wealth than any paycheck ever could. Let's address discipline, because without it, millionaire thinking is nothing more than a fantasy. Discipline is what turns your intentions into habits and habits into results. The broke mind often seeks comfort as a relief from stress. The millionaire mind seeks discipline as a path to freedom. Discipline means you control your impulses, your spending, your time, and your energy. It means you delay gratification, invest in your growth, and stick to the plan when excitement wears off. Most people think discipline is about restriction, but in reality, it's about preservation, preserving your energy for the right opportunities, preserving your capital for the right investments, preserving your focus for the things that matter most. You can start practicing millionaire discipline right now, even with $0 in your account. We also need to talk about networks. The broke mind isolates out of pride or fear of judgment. The millionaire mind connects, collaborates, and contributes. Wealth is rarely built alone. It grows in environments where ideas, skills, and opportunities circulate freely. Even without money, you can start building this network by offering value before you ask for it. Share insights, make introductions, contribute effort to projects, and align yourself with people moving in the direction you want to go. When you think like a millionaire, you stop seeing people only in terms of what they can give you and start seeing them as partners in creation. This shift in thinking alone can change your trajectory more than any immediate cash infusion. A millionaire's thinking also thrives on learning. Not passive consumption, but intentional, targeted learning designed to improve decision-making and execution. The broke mind often sees learning as optional, something to get to when I have time. The millionaire mind treats it as urgent, because every decision they make impacts the direction of their wealth. And this learning is not just about finance or business, it's about psychology, communication, leadership, negotiation, and personal mastery. You can begin today by reading one book, listening to one lecture, studying one case, and asking yourself, how does this apply to me right now? That application is the difference between knowledge and wisdom is what builds wealth. Finally, understand that thinking like a millionaire is not an act of pretending, it's an act of preparation. You're not faking success, you're rehearsing it. You're building the thought patterns, the decision-making frameworks, the emotional discipline, and the vision that will make you ready when opportunities appear. And those opportunities will come because the world responds to those who are prepared to act. The mind that thinks like a millionaire attracts the conditions to become one because it is already operating at that level in thought, word, and action. If you start this shift now, even in the smallest ways, you will one day look back and realize that the moment you began thinking differently was the moment your future wealth was born. The first thing you must understand about millionaire thinking is that it thrives in environments of clarity, not chaos. When you're broke, it's easy to let your surroundings and your schedule reflect disorder, papers piled up, commitments half-kept, tasks unfinished. But a cluttered environment feeds a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind cannot think in terms of wealth. Millionaires are fanatically intentional about their space and their time. They clear away what is unnecessary, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. They know that every piece of disorder steals a fragment of their focus, and focus is the currency with which wealth is built. Even with nothing in your account, you can begin by eliminating noise, organizing your day, finishing what you start, and protecting your mind from the constant barrage of distractions that keep most people broke without even realizing it. Another aspect of millionaire thinking is the ability to separate emotion from decision-making. Most people allow feelings, fear, excitement, impatience to dictate their moves, and in doing so, they undermine their own progress. The millionaire mind uses emotion as information, but not as instruction. It can feel fear without fleeing. It can feel excitement without leaping blindly. This level of control means you act based on logic, strategy, and long-term vision rather than momentary impulses. Even in financial scarcity, you can practice this by making small, disciplined decisions that reflect your goals rather than your moods. Every time you choose principle over impulse, you are training the same mental muscle that millionaires use to build and preserve wealth. You must also learn to see problems not as obstacles, but as invitations to create value. The broke mind sees a problem and asks, how do I avoid this? The millionaire mind sees a problem and asks, how do I solve this for myself and for others? That single change in framing transforms frustration into opportunity. This is the foundation of entrepreneurship, but it applies to any field, any role, any stage of life. If you are broke, this is one of the fastest ways to begin building leverage. Find a pain point, fix it, and offer that solution to more people. The bigger the problem you can solve, the more value you create. And value, as we've already established, is the true source of wealth. A critical skill in thinking like a millionaire is the ability to detach self-worth from net worth. Many people define themselves by their current financial situation, and in doing so, they limit what they believe is possible. The millionaire mind knows that money is a tool, not an identity. You can have nothing today and still carry yourself with the posture, standards, and vision of someone destined for abundance. This detachment is not denial, it's power. Because when your sense of worth is anchored in your vision, your character, and your habits, your financial ups and downs cannot control your belief in your future. This belief fuels persistence, and persistence builds wealth. We must address the importance of patience. The broke mind often seeks quick wins, a sudden windfall, an overnight success because it is desperate to escape the discomfort of scarcity. But the millionaire mind is comfortable with the long game. It knows that compounding, whether in money, skills, or relationships, takes time. It is willing to work in seasons where results are invisible because it trusts the process. You can practice this patience right now by choosing projects, habits, and investments of time that may not pay off immediately, but will grow in value over months and years. Millionaire thinking measures success not just by what you gain quickly, but by what you can sustain indefinitely. Another defining trait is the ability to take calculated risks. The broke mind often avoids risk entirely or takes reckless risks out of desperation. The millionaire mind studies, prepares, and then moves decisively when the odds are in its favor. It understands that all growth involves some level of uncertainty, but it mitigates that uncertainty through information, strategy, and contingency planning. Even without money, you can practice this skill by making decisions where the potential upside is meaningful, the downside is manageable, and you've done the work to tip the odds in your favor. This habit builds confidence in your judgment, which is worth more than any single financial gain. A millionaire's thinking also includes the discipline of reinvestment. When they earn, they don't immediately consume, they allocate. They put resources, whether money, time, or energy, back into things that will grow. The broke mind treats every gain as a reason to relax or indulge. The millionaire mind sees every gain as fuel for the next stage of growth. Even if you're broke today, you can begin reinvesting non-financial resources. Reinvesting your time into learning new skills. Reinvesting your effort into building stronger relationships. Reinvesting your energy into projects with long-term payoff. This mindset creates a compounding effect that eventually spills over into your finances. Finally, understand that thinking like a millionaire is an act of stewardship. It is about managing what you have, no matter how little, as if you are already entrusted with much. This means treating your current resources with respect, keeping your commitments with precision, and making decisions with the awareness that every choice is a seed. If you are careless with small seeds, you will never be trusted with larger fields. But if you cultivate what's in your hand today with excellence, you are preparing yourself for the day when opportunity arrives, and when it does, you will be ready to multiply it. That readiness, more than any external factor, is what will determine whether your broke season becomes a brief chapter or a lifelong condition. One of the most striking differences between the average mind and the millionaire mind is how they respond to limitation. The average person sees limitation as a wall. The millionaire sees it as a blueprint. When they hit a limit, whether it's lack of money, lack of connections, or lack of knowledge, they begin mapping the ways to work around it, through it, or beyond it. This mindset is not born from comfort, it's forged in challenge. If you are broke right now, your circumstances can become one of your greatest advantages if you use them to train this skill. Limitations force creativity. They push you to find unconventional routes that others overlook. Many of the world's most successful entrepreneurs began with no capital, but their ability to adapt, to find leverage, to see possibility inside constraint became the foundation of their fortune. Another habit of the millionaire mind is the refusal to waste time on low-value thinking. The broke mind lingers on gossip, complaint, or speculation about things outside its control. This mental noise feels like activity, but produces nothing of worth. The millionaire mind allocates mental energy the way an investor allocates capital, carefully, intentionally, and with the expectation of return. They think about problems they can solve, relationships they can strengthen, systems they can improve, and opportunities they can create. They filter out the trivial because they understand that every minute spent on distraction is a minute stolen from creation. Even without wealth, you can start this habit by asking throughout your day, will this thought lead to growth, or will it just burn my time? The millionaire thinker also understands the compounding value of reputation. Long before they are wealthy, they work to become known as someone whose word means something, whose work is reliable, and whose presence adds value to a room. This is a form of capital that money cannot buy and that no market fluctuation can take away. A strong reputation attracts opportunities, partnerships, and resources, often before you've proven yourself financially. If you are broke right now, this is one of the most powerful things you can build. Delivering excellence in every small interaction, meeting deadlines, honoring commitments, and speaking with integrity. Over time, this compound effect will open doors that money alone never could. Another key is mastering the art of strategic patience. Millionaires understand that not every opportunity is worth chasing, and not every timing is the right timing. They resist the urge to grab at every possibility just because it's available. They ask, will this move me toward my vision? Does it align with my values? Does it justify the energy and resources it will require? This selective approach prevents the burnout and fragmentation that keep so many people from building lasting wealth. If you're broke, the temptation is to say yes to everything, but the discipline is in saying yes only to what moves the needle. Selectivity keeps your path clear, your energy focused, and your progress measurable. We must also address the role of self-education. The broke mind often stops learning once formal schooling ends. The millionaire mind never stops. They read, study, and seek mentors, not because they have to, but because they understand that one insight, one new skill, can produce returns for the rest of their lives. They treat learning as an investment, not an expense, and they are strategic about it. They don't just consume information, they apply it immediately. If you're broke, you have more access to free education today than any generation before you. The question is whether you will take advantage of it with the same urgency you would if every lesson cost you thousands of dollars. Another distinction is how millionaires handle fear. Fear is universal. It's not that they don't feel it, but they've trained themselves not to obey it. The broke mind sees fear as a stop sign. The millionaire mind sees it as a caution light. It means slow down, assess, prepare, but keep moving. This habit of moving through fear is crucial because every meaningful opportunity will involve uncertainty. If you wait for fear to disappear before you act, you will wait forever. Millionaires train this muscle in small ways, making the difficult call, asking for the meeting, testing the idea, so that when larger opportunities appear, their reflex is to move forward instead of freeze. The millionaire mind also has an entirely different relationship with failure. Where the broke mind sees failure as a verdict, the millionaire mind sees it as feedback. They expect setbacks as part of the process, not as signs that they should stop. This mindset frees them to experiment, to innovate, to take calculated risks because they know that each so-called failure contains data they can use to refine their approach. If you can begin to detach your identity from your mistakes, you will discover a level of resilience that makes you nearly impossible to stop. Every lesson learned now in a season of scarcity becomes a tool you can use when the stakes are higher. Finally, thinking like a millionaire means building systems that remove as much reliance on willpower as possible. They design their days, habits, and environments so that the best decision is also the easiest one to make. They automate savings, schedule learning time, set up routines that keep them in motion, and remove temptations that pull them off course. This is not about discipline in bursts, it's about discipline by design. You can begin doing this today, even without money, by setting up systems for how you use your time, how you handle information, and how you maintain focus. The more you build these systems now, the more mental energy you will have later for high-value thinking, the kind of thinking that turns vision into reality. A millionaire's thinking is built on the foundation of intentional direction. They do not drift through their days hoping circumstances will align in their favor. They decide in advance where their time, attention, and effort will go. The broke mind often wakes up reacting to whatever arrives first, a message, a request, a minor inconvenience, and by the end of the day they have spent themselves on things that move them no closer to their goals. The millionaire mind reverses this entirely. Before the day begins, the most important work is already scheduled. The boundaries are already drawn and the priorities are already chosen. This habit of leading the day instead of following it compounds over weeks, months, and years into an advantage that others can't quite explain but can clearly see. Even in a season of financial scarcity, you can adopt this discipline because it costs nothing to decide in advance what matters most and guard it like it's your only source of income. Another defining feature of the millionaire mind is the habit of tracking and measuring progress. You cannot improve what you do not measure. Most people have vague intentions. They want more money, better health, stronger relationships, but they keep no clear record of their actions or their results. Millionaires operate differently. They treat their goals like a business treats its metrics. They measure income, output, growth, and the effectiveness of their decisions. They know exactly where they are compared to where they want to be, and that clarity directs their next move. You can begin this practice today by tracking one key metric tied to your most important goal. When you measure, you illuminate reality, and reality, no matter how far from your vision it is, can always be improved with focused effort. The millionaire mind also understands the importance of strategic sacrifice. They are willing to give up something now for the sake of something greater later. This might mean skipping short-term pleasures, delaying purchases, or choosing work over leisure in certain seasons. The broke mind often sees sacrifice as loss. The millionaire mind sees it as investment. The difference is perspective. Every sacrifice is a seed, and every seed has the potential to produce a return far greater than the cost. If you are broke today, you are in the perfect position to develop this skill, because when you have less, every choice matters more. Learning to trade the immediate for the important is one of the most valuable habits you can carry into any future wealth you build. Another core element is the way millionaires manage their attention. They treat it as a finite resource, because it is. The broke mind spends attention freely, scattering it across dozens of competing distractions, social media, unfiltered conversations, news cycles, without asking what each of these inputs is costing them. Millionaires guard their attention with the same vigilance they use to guard their investments. They direct it toward their goals, toward the relationships that matter, toward the skills they're developing. Even if you have no financial capital today, you have attention capital, and where you invest it will determine your next opportunities. By removing what doesn't deserve your focus, you immediately increase the quality and speed of your progress. The millionaire thinker is also a master of positioning. They understand that where you place yourself physically, socially, and mentally determines the opportunities you encounter. They seek out environments, networks, and information streams that keep them aligned with growth. They avoid spaces and circles that normalize mediocrity or drain ambition. Positioning is the reason two people with the same skills can have completely different outcomes. One spends time where opportunities circulate, the other spends time where they don't. If you are broke right now, you can still position yourself by showing up in the right rooms, joining the right discussions, and contributing value to the right people. Often, proximity to opportunity is more important than the opportunity itself. We must also talk about how millionaires interpret obstacles. Where the broke mind sees a dead end, the millionaire mind sees a negotiation. They rarely accept no as final. Instead, they ask, what would make it possible? Or, who do I need to talk to? Or, how else could this be done? This mindset keeps them moving forward, while others stop at the first barrier. In practice, this means reframing rejection as redirection. A deal that falls through might point them to a better one. A skill they lack points them toward learning it. A closed door forces them to find or build another entrance. This habit of interpreting obstacles as temporary keeps their momentum alive, even in seasons where resources are thin. Another principle embedded in millionaire thinking is leverage. They constantly look for ways to get more output from the same or fewer inputs. This can mean automating repetitive tasks, delegating to others, using technology to multiply efficiency, or creating systems that produce results without constant supervision. The broke mind tries to do everything alone, wearing exhaustion as a badge of honor. The millionaire mind asks, how can this be done better, faster, and with less strain on my time and energy? Even without money, you can practice leverage by finding smarter workflows, exchanging value with others, and focusing only on the highest impact tasks. Finally, the millionaire mind operates with an unwavering sense of responsibility for their own trajectory. They accept that no one else is coming to build their dream for them. They may receive help, guidance, or collaboration, but they understand that the steering wheel is in their hands. This sense of ownership creates a mental posture of proactivity instead of passivity. When something goes wrong, they don't default to blame, they look for the lesson, the adjustment, the next move. And when something goes right, they don't become complacent, they ask how it can be improved or repeated. This mindset, more than any strategy or tactic, ensures that they remain in motion toward their goals. Even if you're broke right now, you can adopt this principle immediately. Take full, unshakable responsibility for the life you are building, and you will already be thinking like the millionaire you intend to become. The millionaire mind is built on the principle that every choice compounds. They understand that small decisions, repeated daily, either build toward wealth or erode the foundation of it. The broke mind underestimates the power of small actions, dismissing them as insignificant, while the millionaire mind knows that seemingly minor habits, reading a few pages, making one important call, setting aside a small amount of money, accumulate into massive results over time. They see each day as a construction site for their future, and every choice as a brick. Even if you are broke today, you can choose to stack bricks that will hold weight tomorrow. The discipline to think long-term about even your smallest actions is a hallmark of those who eventually build great fortunes. A key distinction is how millionaires manage their relationship with money before they have much of it. The broke mind often thinks, when I have more, I'll manage it better, but that is an illusion. The habits you have with a small amount of money will simply be magnified with a large amount. Millionaires treat every dollar as a tool, not just as something to spend. They give each dollar a job, whether that's to grow, to protect, to purchase, or to prepare for opportunities. Even with a small income, you can begin practicing this level of intentionality. Assign every dollar a purpose before you spend it, and you will begin training the muscle that will serve you when your income grows. Another defining element is emotional stability under pressure. The path to wealth is rarely a straight, smooth road. It's filled with setbacks, delays, and moments of uncertainty. The broke mind often lets these moments derail the entire plan, interpreting them as signs that the vision isn't working. The millionaire mind remains steady. They understand that pressure is part of the process, and that emotional volatility leads to poor decisions. They have trained themselves to pause, assess, and respond with reason, even when the situation feels urgent. This ability to stay composed allows them to see solutions others miss, and to act decisively when others freeze. You can begin practicing this by treating small daily inconveniences as opportunities to build patience and control. We must also address how millionaires think about time. The broke mind treats time as if it is renewable, wasting hours on activities that produce no return. The millionaire mind treats time as the most valuable asset they will ever own. They know they can lose money and make it back, but lost time is gone forever. This awareness shapes their choices. They outsource tasks that do not require their personal attention. They say no to engagements that don't align with their goals, and they protect blocks of time for their highest value work. Even if you have no money to invest, you can invest your time as if it were scarce and precious, because it is. The millionaire thinker also refuses to let pride block progress. When they don't know something, they ask. When they make a mistake, they admit it. When they need help, they seek it without shame. The broke mind often hides ignorance out of fear of judgment, missing opportunities to learn. The millionaire mind is more concerned with progress than with appearances. They know that the willingness to be a student again and again accelerates growth. Even in scarcity, you can humble yourself to learn from anyone who knows something you don't, whether it's a peer, a mentor, a book, or a real-world experience. A less discussed but crucial part of millionaire thinking is the ability to separate identity from possessions. The broke mind often uses purchases to project an image, buying things to look successful before they have actually built success. The millionaire mind invests first in building the reality, not the appearance. They know that wealth is measured by assets and freedom, not by labels and brand names. They delay external displays of wealth until the foundation is secure. Even if you are broke, you can begin practicing this by valuing function over flash, results over recognition, and substance over show. Another core element is resilience in the face of rejection. Millionaires hear no often, sometimes from clients, sometimes from investors, sometimes from people they wanted on their team. They don't take rejection as a verdict, they take it as information. They refine their approach, they improve their offer, or they find a better match for what they bring to the table. The broke mind often sees rejection as a personal failure and retreats. The millionaire mind sees it as proof they are in the arena and as a chance to sharpen themselves for the next opportunity. Practicing resilience in small rejections today will prepare you to handle bigger stakes tomorrow without losing momentum. Finally, thinking like a millionaire means embracing the truth that the mind is the ultimate source of wealth. Money can be lost, markets can shift, industries can disappear, but the mindset, skills, and habits you've built cannot be taken from you. That is why they invest in themselves first, ensuring that their ability to create value is not dependent on a single job, a single market, or a single idea. If you are broke right now, the most important investment you can make is in building the mind, the discipline, and the habits that will generate wealth when the opportunity comes. Because once your thinking changes, your circumstances have no choice but to follow. The millionaire mind understands that the greatest leverage in the world is not money, it's the ability to think independently. The broke mind often borrows its opinions wholesale from the crowd, swayed by trends, headlines, and the loudest voices in the room. Millionaires cultivate a mental discipline that filters information through their own reasoning before accepting it as truth. They ask, does this align with my goals? Is there evidence for this? Who benefits if I believe it? This habit protects them from chasing every new distraction and keeps them anchored to their vision when everyone else is being pulled by the current. You can begin practicing independent thinking right now, even without resources, by pausing before you react, questioning assumptions, and seeking multiple perspectives before making decisions. Another trait is their ability to envision long-term returns on current actions. The broke mind often looks for instant payoff. If the result isn't visible immediately, they assume it isn't working. The millionaire mind sees further down the road. They are willing to build for months or years before expecting a return, because they know that the seeds they plant now will grow in their absence. This future-focused vision shapes their decisions, guiding them to projects, skills, and relationships that may not pay off today but will multiply in value later. Even in financial scarcity, you can develop this vision by asking of every action, if I repeat this for 5 years, where will it lead me? If the answer excites you, you've found an investment worth making. The millionaire thinker also removes the mental trash of entitlement. They don't believe the world owes them a break, an opportunity, or a favorable outcome. They know they must earn it, and they welcome that reality because it gives them control. Entitlement breeds resentment when life doesn't deliver. Responsibility breeds creativity in finding solutions. The broke mind often waits for conditions to improve, while the millionaire mind gets to work improving themselves so they can thrive under any condition. This difference in attitude alone is enough to separate those who rise from those who remain stuck. An equally important mindset is that millionaires guard their energy as fiercely as their time. The broke mind spends energy on proving points, defending pride, or engaging in emotional battles that produce no growth. Millionaires conserve that energy for creation, problem-solving, and strategic thinking. They walk away from arguments they don't need to win. They avoid commitments that drain without producing. They understand that the quality of their energy determines the quality of their work, and the quality of their work determines the quality of their results. You can start this today by simply asking, is this worth my energy? Before you invest yourself in it. The millionaire mind also thrives on adaptability. Markets change, opportunities shift, and unexpected challenges arrive without warning. The broke mind resists change and clings to the familiar, even when it no longer works. Millionaires remain flexible. They are willing to pivot strategies, adopt new tools, or enter unfamiliar arenas if it serves their goals. This adaptability doesn't come from chasing novelty, it comes from staying committed to the outcome while remaining open to better methods of getting there. In times of scarcity, adaptability becomes even more crucial because you cannot afford to waste resources on strategies that no longer work. Another pillar of millionaire thinking is their approach to risk assessment. They don't see risk as something to avoid entirely, nor do they embrace it recklessly. They study it, quantify it, and then decide if the potential reward justifies the exposure. They ask, what's the worst that can happen? How can I protect against it? What will it cost me not to take this risk? The broke mind often avoids the question altogether, defaulting to safety by inaction, which is itself a risk, the risk of staying exactly where they are. Practicing calculated risk-taking while you have little is the perfect training ground because your downside is smaller now than it will be later. The millionaire also eliminates the mental clutter of multitasking on important work. They understand that true breakthroughs require deep, sustained focus. The broke mind divides attention among too many half-finished projects, producing mediocre results in all of them. Millionaires choose fewer priorities and commit to finishing them at a high standard before moving on. They know that the satisfaction and momentum of completion are far more valuable than the illusion of busyness. Even without resources, you can train this by focusing on one high-value task each day until it's done, resisting the urge to scatter your effort. Finally, the millionaire mind commits to leaving every environment better than they found it. This applies to relationships, business deals, communities, and even the smallest interactions. They understand that value is magnetic. When you consistently add to people's lives, opportunities and goodwill begin to flow toward you without constant chasing. The broke mind often thinks only in terms of what it can take. The millionaire mind thinks in terms of what it can build. This simple but powerful shift makes them a force others want to work with, invest in, and promote. And you can begin it right now, no matter your financial state, by making it a daily habit to leave something, someone, some situation better because you were there.